Hey guys, Reddita here. Welcome to the all parts video for illegal shiz from high school. If you like the video, like and subscribe. Smash the bell blah blah, I upload every day blah blah. Okay, on with the video. Enjoy. r/askreddit. What highly illegal thing took place at your high school? Our football coach took off with one of the girls in the high school and moved to Mexico and married her. He had a wife and kids. They then hired a brand new football coach who was 23 years old. Before the end of his first year, he was hooking up with an 18-year-old senior girl. They also took off and went somewhere. We went without a coach for a couple years. My golf coach got arrested in Kansas for driving with a spare tire full of cocaine. Idiot, you put air in tires. I interviewed a teacher at a high school once. One of the questions from the school board was, can you avoid sleeping with your students? Me. Yes I can. School board thinks I'm great. Principal thinks I'm great. Superintendent of schools doesn't think I'm cut out for the job. Gives me the runaround. Principal is trying to help me push through it and get hired, but I finally give up and get a normal job elsewhere. Superintendent hires his nephew. Wonder why he gave me the runaround, who promptly has sex with a student and gets fired. I still see the principal occasionally. He always apologizes. I wanted to hire you. He's way too nice to have been stuck at that lousy school. Good to know there are still principals with principals. The principal was ducking students. A few years after I graduated, some parents found out and took him to court. He hanged himself before he could be convicted. Edit. Corrected the word from hung. My history teacher had sex with a 15-year-old girl, but she didn't admit it for at least a decade. He was a good teacher and I liked his class, but he's gonna rot in jail for the rest of his life. The middle school gym teacher who inappropriately touched lots of preteen girls, who promptly told on him, got the teensiest slap on the wrist, and that was that. Over spring break one year, the entire hockey team and the cheerleaders all went to rehab. The goalie was dealing coke to all of them. Sounds like a bad goalie letting them all score. A teacher was caught having sex with an autistic student. I believe the student claimed to have loved her. Her dad was also a teacher at the same school and he left after the incident came out. Edit. Teacher was female. Student was male. This happened at my school too. There were 4 freshmen in the bathroom stall just vaping and a teacher came in, so they freaked out and didn't want to get in trouble, so they thought calling the cops on the teacher for harassment would get them out of trouble. They got expelled an hour after the cops arrived. We had a science teacher say, if you don't put goggles on, I'm going to have to spray you in the eyes with Lysol, which was probably not illegal until the student tried to call her bluff. She wasn't bluffing. And that's how the legend was born. Carol. She didn't wear her safety goggles. Now she doesn't need them. The cheerleaders got caught selling morphine. The football team got into a brawl with a rival school at a local pizza place over said morphine scandal. A huge fiasco over a kid putting baking soda and vinegar in a test tube and sealing it and taping it under a lunch table till it exploded. Edit. To clarify, the baking soda vinegar incident was completely separate from the morphine and brawl one. Sorry for the confusion. Had a pretty controversial case involving a handicapped student who had cerebral palsy and muscular dystrophy. His parents filed a lawsuit accusing 2 of his handlers of abusing him by dumping him out of his chair and forcing him to wear a neck brace so he'd look them in the eye. Worst part was, I don't think the handlers suffered any consequences. I looked up articles on it and all of them highlight the abuse and lawsuit, but none follow through with the results, which is frustrating. The principal hired a bunch of students to sell steroids at the local gym. Same principal gave the same students a list of kids who were questioning their sexuality with the counselor before XRs were a thing, and they all had their lockers bashed in with a baseball bat. One of the kids had his parents notified and was beat within an inch of his life. Our teacher used to hotbox her classroom and then use the kiln fan to pull all the smoke out. Edit. Sorry, that is confusing. K principal organizes mob. Mob beats up gay kids. Mob calls super religious parent and outs gay kid. Parent beats gay kid. Parent gets anger management and community service because they are an influential community member. Typical art teacher there. No surprise. A teacher sexually harassed like 12 students. The issue is everybody loved that guy. He won Best Teacher award like 2 days before his arrest. PS. No, this isn't Persona 5. This actually did happen. I'm not making a clever joke about Kamoshida, although I probably would have. This was a real guy. One Mr. Chu. Football team had an incident where somehow a Gatorade bottle ended up going up a freshman's butt. Edit. Hey gold. Nice. Not highly illegal, but not legal either. I figured out how to make fake IDs in my home darkroom and showed a friend how to do it. This was in the early 70s, before Photoshop, when analog darkrooms and chemical-based photography were the only option. He went into production in the school darkroom. His quality sucked. He got caught. My quality was excellent, but I only made one for me. In the late 70s, my mom pretended to be her older friend who had lost her id so she could get a legit fake. Said friend then went in days weeks later because she lost her id so that the picture on the record would actually be right. I'm impressed you made your own. Pre-internet days kinda. CDs were a thing. I had a massive CD collection in a gigantic book in my locker. I typed up lists of all the artists and albums I owned. So I had these flyers everywhere, and for $3 a CD would burn you a copy. This was right when CD burners came out and my stepdad was super into the latest and greatest tech, so we had the cool gadgets when they came out. I eventually was caught, but for a time I made killer money. Kids were selling candy and snacks to other students, obliterating the monopoly that the vending machines once held. Administration cut that shit out real quick. My school tried stamping that out. When they realized that was infeasible, they instead started a market in the small gym during lunch, charged a $5 a day for a table. One of my friends made a couple of grand from running a table for a year. A teacher and an administrator embezzled millions. I didn't even know all this happened until years after graduation. Some of my friends had the teacher in question. The cool gang of kids, not me. I've never been anywhere near cool. Got into a dare contest which ended up with one of them having to get a pair of knickers from a particular girl. She didn't want to play the game, so he ended up cornering her in a boys' toilet and cutting them off her with a knife. We never saw him at the school again. All games were banned. Wait, he forcibly cut off her underwear? Did he get his cookie or not? We need to know. Playing unlocked games. Do you know how illegal that is? A special ed kid got jumped by a dude on his way to school and was beaten bloody. The whole thing was recorded by the guy's girlfriend and her friend. The whole time they were cheering him on, yelling things like "World Star" and so on. She later posted it on Instagram, which pissed off everyone, and just about everyone wanted to beat the dude up in the vid. He was given temporary suspension, ducking BS, while the police took care of him. From what I know, he was given an assault charge. Also, side note, there was a girl at my school who was in minor league boxing who was ready to beat him up. She even tried looking for him by his house. Edit. For those of you arguing if the boxer would have won the fight, can confirm. She was a hell of a lot bigger than the guy. In comparison, he was a pretty skinny dude. My teacher was molesting my 14-year-old classmate for a while. He went to jail and is still there 20 years later because another past victim came forward. So that's pretty illegal. Knew a guy that sold cocaine in class and tried to offer a girl pot to sleep with him. There was also some public underage sex in one of the halls that led to a girl starving herself until she miscarried. Drama teacher slept with the hottest chicks in class and nothing ever happened to him. Murder. A kid in the grade ahead of me murdered his sister behind the high school. An acquaintance of mine helped him bury the body. Edit. Whoa, this blew up. So this guy was in my English class when I was a sophomore. He was a junior. He was a tennis star on the school team. Seemed real straight-laced. I didn't know his sister. It's rumored that he abused her and she was going to tell. But it's just rumor. What did happen is that they had an argument behind the high school and he hit her over the head with a flashlight and killed her. He and his friend, a guy I knew casually, buried her in a shallow grave outside of town. For your information, small town, Central Oregon. I'd link to the case, but it's hard to find anything online. This happened in about 1987. Pre-internet. Anyway, she was just missing for some time, many months, when hunters discovered the grave and she went from there. Edit 2. If anyone can find the info online, that would be cool. I can't find anything. The guy's name is Brian Ford and this happened in Bend, Oregon in about 1987. We had a softball coach sleep with his students, but a far more interesting story that didn't technically take place on school grounds. There was this kid who was constantly being harassed by bullies. They would even follow him after school and attack him. So there was this hardware store across the street and a lot of kids would hang out in the parking lot after school. The bullies chased the kid inside and cornered him in the garden section. They kept hitting and kicking him, so the dude grabbed an axe from one of the shelves and just started swinging. All the bullies ended up in the hospital with various injuries. Security camera got the whole thing, but I can't remember now if Jim Lee son of Gloin was charged or if it was ruled self-defense. Update. I followed up with my sister who actually knew the kids involved better than me. She was closer to their age. The news articles that came out at the time didn't really talk about the pattern of abuse that led to the axe kicking. But she did confirm that Jim Lee was sent to juvenile corrections for a while. She remembered when he got out and as far as she knew he was doing well. Edit. Thank you for silver and gold. Edit 2. So I thought I left things vague, but apparently this incident was unique enough that people have found some of the news articles. There are more details about the subsequent legal action in those for interested parties. All the bullies ended up in the hospital with various injuries. Things like this bring warmth to my cold, dead heart. One of the old teacher's aides got arrested for child porn and filming the elementary kids' bathroom. Had a guy selling heroin. After that there was a weekly police presence. Also, a kid bound a girl to a chair, gagged her and stuffed her in a cupboard in the woodworking shop. He claims it was to help her complete the sponsored silence she had been doing that day. A bunch of the guys had a fight club. It had been going on for years, no face hits, and there was a 18 and 18 group, so if they got caught nobody got assault on a minor charges. It was actually really well planned and had been going on for years. Until one Dumbus Jr. broke the first rule of Fight Club and posted a video. A bunch of kids got suspended. I think a couple of the seniors got probation or deferment. Edit. I think it's wild how many of you ask if we went to the same high school. I've gotten multiple different countries and at least a 15-year range. A teacher got banned from the school district because he put all of the big-chested female students at the front of his classes and stared at them. A teacher got suspended for telling a black kid to go kill himself. A guy used to wander around the parking lot asking anyone who walked by cocaine, "Want some cocaine?" My senior year, one of my friends was murdered by her boyfriend and he drove around with her body in the trunk for a couple of hours. Also, a couple of kids got caught giving each other piercings in the stairwells. 2 kids had sex in the toilets a few years ago and other 2 kids burned a desk inside the class. In the toilets? Now that's unsanitary. Little bit of backstory first. Our school had a big renovation ongoing. And because of that, almost half of the school was closed down. The closed part included the biggest bathrooms, and because of that, the school administration ordered 2 toilet barracks to be placed on the schoolyard. So, some 7 9th graders decided to buy some toilet pipe opener liquid, I don't know what is the correct term, and aluminium foil. They put the aluminium foil inside some plastic bottles and poured a little pipe opener in them with the foil. As someone has probably done this before, knows what is going to happen next. They stuck 6 bottles total inside the toilet bowls in every stall of one barrack and blew them up due to the chemical reaction between the foil and the opener. All the pipings of the single barrack were destroyed due to water pressure inside the pipes. Turns out that the 2 barracks had connected pipings and the water that was in the bowls in the other barrack shot up to the ceiling due to pressure. The students never got caught, and if I remember correctly, the incident ended up costing a hefty amount for the school administration. The barracks were taken away and were replaced with new ones. After the incident, every recess there was a teacher in front on the barracks monitoring everyone going in and out. Nothing happened to the new toilets. Spanish teacher got arrested for illegally bringing over a 14-year-old Argentinian girl and keeping her as a sex toy. But since she was here illegally and wouldn't testify against him, she was deported and he came back to school later in the year. Come to find out, a couple of years later he had molested like half of the girls' volleyball team he was the coach of. What the duck? Probably the pedophilic cult masked as a NAAA group that met in the basement somewhat regularly. Okay, so I'm gonna need more information on this. What the duck? A terrorist bomb exploded just in front of our school when I was in middle school. We were studying when it happened. There was a big smoke. Glasses were shattered. Everybody rushed outside as soon as they heard the explosion. I just stood dumbstruck in my seat for a full 10 seconds before being able to move. Years later, this is still the most overwhelming experience in my life. Grew up in a small town. When a lamb got sick and was dying, our ag teacher just had us go out behind the classroom building and shoot it. We ended up pulling a massive tapeworm out of it. Definitely not legal to have guns on campus, let alone use them. This was middle school, but our computer teacher was fired after they caught him watching porn in the computer lab during lunch. Rumor has it, he was watching on the big projector screen they use for teaching. Basketball coach was ducking players' parents. When faculty and authorities started looking into the situation, they found that he was also posting in the classified ads as a prostitute. Edit. Also forgot to mention the coach that replaced him was living in one of the basketball team locker rooms for a while. That whole situation didn't make much sense to me. Another edit. A lot of people are asking why it is illegal to duck a parent. I don't think it is, but the faculty started looking into it after complaints of favoritism towards the children of these parents. Basically, I duck your mom, you start varsity, and then the prostitution was found quite easily. It was a small town. Child pornography filming. 2 underage seniors from my graduating class filmed a full-on porno with some 20-year-old dude. Circulated to like 30 kids in the class and was a huge scandal for the school for a while. One of them was expelled while the other was just given a suspension cause she otherwise had a clean record and was on one of the sports teams. Not sure if they ever found the dude. Guy would burn copies of the new Eminem album for people for $5. Much illegal. Probably made a fortune. Who has $15 for a CD? Plus, mom said the language is too explicit, so she'll only buy me the Walmart censored version. Half my school burned down because some idiot thought it would be a good idea to light a wrestling mat on fire. Pro tip. Wrestling mats are very flammable. Weren't able to have sports all year. Talent shows and concerts in the auditorium. Benefit was we got 2 weeks off from school while they vented cleaned up the mess. All I can remember was the kid was a minor, so the parents pretty much owed millions to the school. Update. Just googled the kid's name and found out he died a year later in a car accident near the school he transferred to, because he was expelled obviously. The press box at our football stadium was a notorious hotspot for getting high or drunk. Nobody seemed to care either. Out of sight, out of mind. This gangster guy beat the absolute duck out of another guy. We had a glass partition separating the outside court and the cafeteria. The guy that was being beat up grabbed the other guy and slammed his head against the glass window, and then the blood just ducking poured out. Unfortunately, I had to go around the ducking accident, and by the time I got to the cafeteria they were out of tacos. It was a bummer. A good friend of my dorky group brought contraband Russian vodka to high school all the time. He ran a scam selling fake web hosting, and once got into real trouble for making one of these shock websites, a Lagotsi, with malicious code in it that forced you to physically restart the computer if you wanted out of it. Yes, he got into trouble because he made another kid's name appear on it, implying he was the guy being featured in the shocking porno. Other than that, my high school only had the usual things: drug dealers, thieves, and a certain teacher that tried to coerce girls into giving him sexual favors in exchange of grades, and failing miserably. Not my school, but friends. 2 students threw a chair from a balcony. They've hit an 8-month pregnant teacher. She passed out. The principal refused to let an ambulance evacuate her from school grounds because it'd tatter their school's reputation. So she has had the custodian drag the unconscious bleeding pregnant teacher out of the school, and only then she called the ambulance. The teacher has had a stillbirth consequently to that incident. Edit. Spells. Edit 2. After reading some of your comments, change the word miscarriage to stillbirth. Some girl brought cupcakes made with cum, called them cumcakes, proceeded to ask everyone in class if they wanted one. Okay, well then, going out on a high note, I think. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.